The storylines for the summer hardcourt swing just keep getting better and better as 23-year-old Frenchman Terence Atmane has taken the Cincinnati Open by storm. I'll talk about Atmane's dominant win over Holger Rune, preview all the quarterfinals in Cincy, and talk about a bit of controversy surrounding the tournament amid allegations of favoritism. Hello, I'm Christian Bassnight, and welcome to Christian's Court, where I cover tennis from all angles. If you have not yet already, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you are notified whenever I post more Cincinnati Open update videos. Hi, Christian's crew. I know I've been MIA lately and y'all have probably been starving for some content, but I'm going to feed y'all with a lot of content pretty soon over the next honestly month, for real. But anyways, delving into the video, first I have to talk about the story of the tournament, and that is Terence Atmane. The world number 136 entered this year's Cincy Open with a 1-4 tour level record in 2025, but now he is in his first ATP 1000 semifinal after scoring back-to-back top 10 wins. After qualifying for the main draw, Terence defeated Yoshihito Nishioka in the first round, Flavio Cobolli in the second round, the 15th seed. Then he defeated Brazilian phenom Joao Fonseca in the third round, world number 4 Taylor Fritz in round 4, followed by most recently beating world number 9 Holger Rune in the quarterfinals. The 23-year-old, honestly, he dominated Rune 6-2, 6-3, and the fate of this match was really entirely in Terence's hands from the very first ball. Atmane's forehand was the biggest weapon on court, and it's quite something. That shot is so big. That shot is so big, and I audibly said, like multiple times, just the shot making and the pace of that forehand was just off the charts. The turning point of the match happened really early in the fourth game. In fact, at 2-1, it was a pretty lengthy game where Rune, he had 4 game points to hold serve for 2-all, but Atmane broke on his 5th time of asking, and he really never looked back. Atmane was only truly tested on his serve once this match, when he was broken in the second set to go down love 2. Terence won 85% of his first serve points compared to Holger's 60% first serve points won success rate. Atmane's serve is just more potent than Rune's. Not only does he have that lefty effect, but it's also just very hard to read his serve because he makes contact so soon after tossing the ball. Rune, I also think he stood way too close to the baseline and didn't give Terence enough looks, and Atmane took advantage of that. I also think that Rune didn't do much to really test Atmane whenever he did get the return in play. He wasn't really forcing the issue enough at all, in my opinion, and I think that he played a little bit too safe and was waiting for Atmane to miss, and oftentimes Holger's balls, many of his balls, landed in the middle of the court, and that allowed Atmane to dictate and take total control. That said, credit should be given to Terence for sure for playing an incredible match. He did not let Holger into this one at all, pretty much, and he really played a flawless match. He ended with 22 winners to 18 unforced errors. You really can't ask for much better than that against a top 10 player like Rune. Now, I do think we need to have a conversation about Holger because this was a really disappointing performance from him. Yes, again, Terence played well, but for him to lose 2 and 3, I think that's ridiculous. I honestly I had the feeling that Terence would get this win, but I thought for sure that Holger would at least push it to 3 sets. So I just don't think that he has that moxie for real. He's not really truly confident in what he wants to do out there, and it showed in his decision-making out there. He approached poorly, oftentimes not with good intentions, and he was also rushing his ground strokes quite a few times and then shanked a few times, especially on his forehand. Rune really just has no true identity with his game right now, simple as that. Hopefully this will be the loss that causes Holger to kind of wake up and say, hey, something has got to change, because again, there's no reason for Atmane to have taken the racket out of his hand like that, like he did tonight. Just ridiculous. But Terence, his story is truly incredible. He was ranked outside the top 130 before this tournament, and now he's not only making his top 100 debut, but he sits at 69 in the live rankings. He is truly an anomaly because 9 out of his 10 tour level wins, career tour level wins, are at the ATP 1000 level. Terence also does not have a clothing sponsorship deal, nor does he have an actual agent, but I think that will definitely change after this tournament. And then another interesting thing is that Atmane will have to qualify for the US Open if he wants to reach the main draw. And the qualies start Monday, like next Monday. And if he wins his semifinal, he will have to play for the Cincinnati Open title on Monday. So that's going to be a crazy thing. Like, what happens if Atmane does win? Does the U.S. Open give him a special wild card? I mean, I feel like they have to give him something because that's utterly ridiculous. But I think it will be a tall order, though, for Terence to make the final as he faces the world number one, Jannik Sinner, in the semis. Sinner, he was the first man into the semifinals, and he crushed Felix Auger-Aliassime 6-love, 6-2. Jannik had never beaten Felix before this match, although their two lone previous meetings were in 2022, where both guys were completely different players. I just knew it was going to be a tough ask for Auger-Aliassime to go 3 for 3, and the first set was definitely one to forget for Felix. He was obviously bageled, but he didn't hit a single winner and hit 13 unforced errors. He finished the match with 5 winners to 29 unforced errors. Felix's backhand, I've known this, we've all known this for years. It's just too much of a liability, and it was exposed particularly in this matchup against Sinner. And I think his movement to the backhand side is a big problem for him as well. And when I was in Cincinnati, I saw him really trying to grind on that backhand and trying to, he was just hitting stationary backhands. I do think that he needs to work on, moving the backhand on the move. But alas, the forehand it wasn't potent enough, I feel, to drive consistent winners for him. And we all know Felix's forehand is probably his best shot out there. Sinner's forehand is better, and that creates a big matchup problem for the Canadian. And Jannik is also much better at seeking the opportunity to play strong first-strike tennis immediately with that forehand, and his return quality also sets him up nicely to dictate with his forehand. Definitely not a great day at the office for Auger-Aliassime, but like with Rune, hopefully he can take this loss and use it for what he needs to improve upon in the future against other tough opposition. Now, the question is, does Atmane actually have a chance at stunning Sinner? I think the chances are slim, to be honest. I think that Terence, first of all, he might be gassed as he had to come through qualifying. And when you include his qualifying matches, he's already played 7 matches. Now, he will get a day off, but I feel like that day off actually could hurt him because Terence seems to be a player that's very momentum driven. Like, he would benefit from playing back-to-back matches. So now he'll cool off a little bit and his form might not be that same high level coming into the semifinal against Jannik. Not to mention, Sinner, he won't give Atmane the same types of balls, easier balls, mid-court balls that Rune did because he's simply much better than Rune from the ground. Although, I do have to say, Adrian Mannarino, he tested Jannik a lot in their 4th round match. Definitely tested him a lot. I think some of it was due to Adrian's leftiness as well. That said, Adrian and Terence are 2 completely different players. Adrian's backhand is much stronger. It's actually a stronger shot of the 2, whereas Terence's forehand obviously is the biggest, going to be one of his biggest assets out there. But it's going to be a tough task for Terence to pull off this win, considering all the other intangibles as well. So I'm going to be picking Jannik to win this one in straight sets. Now, that is our only semifinal set at Cincinnati in both the men's and women's side. Looking at our other quarterfinals, first looking at the men's quarterfinal set, we have Ben Shelton, the only American man remaining. He takes on Alexander Zverev. That will be at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Ben, he is on a mean winning streak right now, 9-match winning streak after clinching his 5th 1,000 quarterfinal with a 4-4 victory over Yuri Lehechka. The third seed Zverev, he led Karen Khachanov 7-5 3-love before the Russian retired due to fatigue as he made the Toronto finals before this Cincinnati Open. I think that Zverev will be the favorite in my opinion, and largely because he had a full day of rest today on Thursday, and he also has a 3-0 head-to-head record or advantage over Shelton. Ben, meanwhile, he has had to play back-to-back matches the last few days, and not to mention he's coming off the title in Toronto where he played a few grueling matches there as well. These two actually met here last year in the quarterfinals in Cincinnati, where Zverev took a tight 3-6, 7-6, 7-5 win. I think that Ben, he definitely has a good shot at getting the win. It's just a matter of whether he can keep up up physically. Zverev will make things definitely a grind from the ground, I feel, and I am sensing that we'll get a more air-prone performance from Shelton, considering how he'll try really hard, I think, to keep points short. So because of that, I picked Zverev to win this one in 2 tight sets. Moving on, we have Carlos Alcaraz and Andrei Rublev. Those two will face off at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Carlos leads the head-to-head between the two 3-1. They met pretty recently in the Wimbledon round of 16, where Alcaraz took a tight 4-set win. Andre, I think he does have a solid shot at getting this victory, to be honest. He has not had the best year by any means, but he plays typically pretty well against Alcaraz. The question is, though, will he have the belief of actually getting this win over Carlitos? He has only one top 10 win to his name this entire year, and that was against the then world number 10, Alex de Minaur, and that was back in February. Not to mention, Rublev barely won that match. I think this would be a huge match for Andre, for not only his ranking, but his confidence, and this could be the match that kind of turns around his season for the better. I think that, again, I wouldn't be surprised if he did win this one, but I'm going to be having Alcaraz take this one in 3 because I assume that he would have that little bit of a mental edge here. Now, talking about the women's side and those intriguing quarterfinal matchups, first, probably the most intriguing quarterfinal matchup is between Aryna Sabalenka and Elena Rybakina. Those two are set to play at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time on center court. The world number 1 and defending champion Sabalenka, she has had a very grueling draw in Cincy. She opened against Marketa Vondrousova, then played Amira Raducanu, that grueling match, which she won 7-6 in the 3rd set. Then even Jessica Bugsas-Monero, even though she's unseeded, she's been playing great tennis lately. Definitely, this will be another tough test against Rybakina. They always have a battle. Aryna leads the head-to-head against Elena 7-4, but Elena really should have won their last match, which was in the Berlin quarterfinals a few weeks or a month ago or so, as she had 4 match points, but Sabalenka got the W 7-6 in the 3rd set. Rybakina, she has had to work very hard to even reach this quarterfinal stage, as she recovered from set deficits in all 3 of her matches thus far, beating Renata Zarazua, Elisa Mertens, and Madison Keys. Not to mention, she made the semifinals of both DC and Montreal leading into this tournament, so I feel like she might be running on fumes for this match. I will favor Sabalenka because of that factor. I just think that she will have a little bit more in the tank here, so I'm going to be having her take this in, I'll say 3 sets. Then we have the world number 3, Iga Swiatek, who will face off against 28th seed Anna Kalinskaya in the quarterfinals. Anna, she won their lone meeting in the 2021 Dubai semifinals by a score of 6-4, 6-4, so you would think that she has a good shot. But Kalinskaya, she called off the WTA and the Cincinnati Open tournament on her IG stories because her and Iga will start their quarterfinal match at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Keep in mind, Kalinskaya finished her 4th round match against Alexandrova past midnight on Thursday morning. Anna said, "How can the WTA and tournament expect athletes to perform their best when the scheduling is unfair? After my match against Alexandrova, I got home from the site at 2:40 a.m. and didn't go to bed until 4 a.m. Then I get scheduled at 11 a.m. for tomorrow's match. How does the tournament and WTA expect me to recover and continuously adjust my sleep pattern, which is one of the most important aspects of recovery? Seems a bit one-sided." Some people didn't understand why Anna complained, considering how she had pretty much all of Thursday off, whereas some players like Veronika Kudermetova had to still play Thursday night, only to come back and play their quarterfinal the next day, Friday. But Anna, I do think she has a point. Swiatek, she was the first woman into the quarterfinals, as her 4th round match against Sorana Cîrstea started at 11 a.m. on Wednesday. Plus, Swiatek's already coming into this match well rested, considering how she got a walkover from the 3rd round due to Marta Kostyuk withdrawing. Meanwhile, all of Kalinskaya's matches thus far have been tough ones for her. So objectively speaking, calling a spade, the scheduling isn't quite fair to Anna. I think the real issue, though, stems from the 4th round, from her 4th round match starting so late. In the tournament's defense, they were dealt with a near 3-hour rain delay on Wednesday, so Anna wasn't originally supposed to start as late as she did. I do think that the Rybakina Keys match should should have been the second match on the Center Court Stadium after Alcaraz Nardi anyways, and they really should have put Kalinskaya Alexandrova on grandstand, but it is what it is. I am curious to hear what y'all think about this. Is Kalinskaya valid in her complaints? Let me know in the comments. Anyways, I will give my thoughts on the Cincy tournament scheduling later, but briefly looking at this Swiatek-Kalinskaya matchup, Anna is a flat hitter, so it's no surprise that she beat Iga in their lone previous meeting. Anna also has a solid 13-10 career record over top 10 players, so she won't be facing off against Swiatek. Although I do believe that Swiatek will win this one. I think the conditions, she's more used to the daytime conditions compared to, I feel, Kalinskaya, and I think that she will have more in the tank, especially if this one does go the distance, which I could see happening, but I will have Iga taking this one in straight sets. The bottom half of this draw is definitely more open compared to the top half, as I think the winner of Gauff Paolini will be strong favorites to make the final. Gauff, she had 3 days off after receiving a walkover from Diana Yastremska in the third round. She got a fairly comfortable 6-2, 6-4 victory against Lucia Bronzetti in round 4. The serve and double faults were a concern in the first few games of her opening round match against Xingyu Wang, but after the first set of that match, she's been serving pretty solid throughout the tournament. Gauff's serve held up nicely against Bronzetti. She finished with 6 aces to 3 double faults, and she served 67% of her first serves in. She won 63% of her first serve points and 58% of her second serve points. Although Bronzetti, she didn't really do much to really pressure and attack Gauff's second serve, so gotta take that in mind, but still a solid performance, especially from the serve nonetheless from Gauff. Jasmine, meanwhile, she had a quick time on court. She got revenge from her Wimbledon finals defeat from last year against Barbora Krejcikova, dominating the Czech woman 6-1, 6-2. Barbora, she seemed out of it, to be honest, and I knew that it was going to be an uphill battle for her as she played three-set matches before this fourth round, and she definitely was hampered by a foot problem in this one, so not really much to analyze from this match, but good on Jasmine to get the win regardless. Now, the head-to-head between Gauff and Paolini is tied at 2 apiece, and Jasmine has won their last 2 meetings, which both were this year on the clay. First, they met in the Stuttgart quarterfinals, winning that one, or Paolini won that one 4-3, and then more famously, she won their Rome final by a score of 6-4, 6-2. Coco's last win over Paolini was actually here in the Cincinnati quarterfinals 2 years ago by a score of 6-3, 6-2. Jasmine, I think that she overall was just better from the ground in those clay matchups. Gauff was pretty error prone, I'd say. I think she was forcing a bit too much. And Paolini, she played great matches, especially in Rome. She played a phenomenal match. I do think, though, that Coco's serve failed her in both the Stuttgart and Rome matches, so she needs to make sure that her serve is on point today. And that's going to be interesting to see whether, it'll still hold up, because we all know that Jasmine will come out and try to attack Gauff's, especially her second serve, relentlessly. So we might see those double faults rear their ugly heads. I do think that those Stuttgart and Rome matches could have been more competitive than what they were, so I don't think that it's possibly a matchup issue for Gauff. Maybe. I mean, this could prove it if Paolini gets her 3rd straight win over Coco, but I think that Gauff might have a better shot with this match, and the conditions being faster hard courts, even though this one will be played at night, not before 9 o'clock or not before 8:30 p.m. Also, Gauff will actually have the crowd support, unlike in their Rome final where the crowd was fully 100% behind their Italian woman. I see this one being tight, but I think it will come down to, again, Coco's serve holding up and the mental side of things. Will Coco's eagerness for revenge get her through, or will Jasmine's confidence of already beating Coco twice this year help her more? Given my pick, I will have Coco win this one in 3 sets. Now, the winner of Gauff Paolini faces the winner of French women of Varvara Krejcikova and Veronika Kudermetova. Krejcikova qualified for the main draw, and en route to the quarterfinals, she defeated Sofia Kenin, Karolina Muchova, and fellow qualifier Ella Seidel recently in the 4th round. Kudermetova, meanwhile, has earned some excellent wins this tournament, beating Belinda Bencic, Clara Tauson, and Magda Linette, who beat Jessica Pegula. And this was a big win for Kudermetova in beating Linette, because this is not only her first 1,000 quarterfinals since Rome 2020, 3, but also she secured a seeding at the US Open. I'm going to be favoring Kudermetova pretty heavy in this one. She has a 2-0 head-to-head over Krejcikova, although they haven't played in a while. But also she's just a 2-time 1,000 semifinalist, so I think that her overall vast more experience will get her through in this match. Now, ending things off, kind of talking, giving my 2 cents on the tournament overall. I know a lot of people have been dragging the tournament. You know, the tournament has been going through it. They had a power outage and then been dealing with rain delays. And people have been saying y'all had a $260 million renovation but couldn't build a roof. Now, batting for the tournament and in their defense, building a roof would be a lot. And they were under a lot of pressure because the tournament was it was talks of it being sold to Charlotte, the tournament moving to Charlotte. So they had to come up with something really quick. And again, a roof would take that takes years to develop. So they had to come up with something quicker with the expansion. So I was on the grounds. The tournament site looks lovely, definitely beautiful. If y'all are there or anywhere near there, I suggest go see it and give it a little bit more liveliness going on, because the grounds do seem low-key a little bit more dead. Plus, it isn't really common for joint 1000s to have a roof. I think Madrid is the only one, so not too much on the tournament for that. Now, I know that rain played a role in this, but the scheduling of the tournament has been pretty odd. And I still think it's wild that Sinner already booked his spot in the semifinals before Shelton even played his 4th round match. And the tournament just seems, honestly, drawn out unnecessarily. I, again, don't understand why the finals is being played Monday evening. We could have wrapped this up by Sunday, really Saturday if we're being honest, but there's no need for a Monday final. This thing could have been finished Sunday. Now, the Canadian Open, I think the Canadian Open is beating out Cincy as far as the match quality overall. And yes, the Canadian Open, they had less stars, but I just think the quality of tennis overall was higher. We had a lot of just great matches because the players were also more fresh. We've had quite a few mid-tournament withdrawals and retirements at the Cincinnati Open, more so on the men's side. But listing off players who either withdrew from the tournament mid-tournament or retired from their match mid-match, you got Kostyuk, Yastrzemska, Khachanov, Tiafoe, Davidovich Fokina, Menchik, among others. And the heat definitely wasn't doing any favors for the players either. A few players just called it quits and was just struggling because it was so hot out there. And I just think that overall, to combine that with the schedule, it's too much. It's just simply too much. That is all I have for this long overdue Cincy update video. And let me know in the comments what you think about Atmane's run, and if you think that he does have a legit shot at taking down Sinner, as well as all the other quarterfinal matchups, and if you think that, again, Kalinskaya's complaint was valid. Again, make sure you subscribe and click that notification bell so you are notified whenever I post more update videos throughout this tournament. Thank you all so much for watching and for your support, and I will see you all next time here on Christian's Court.